Oh, there we go. That was a dissolve. Interesting. I hope every cut's not going to be a dissolve. All right. Yep. Okay. That is the noise gate in there. And thank you all for being here. As always, I love to know where everyone is watching from today. And also, this is an interactive show. You are here live. I am here live. And as such, what questions do you have? You can ask them. This is an interactive show. I think it could be pretty simple, but if with your questions, it could go kind of anywhere. Once again, welcome everyone. My name is Anthony Barogas. I hit the button. It doesn't like me today. Nope, not going to bring up that title. So I'll do it this way. There. I'm the chief gearhead here at StreamTEK, and yes, I'm using this, but the I don't know, the title for me didn't want to work. That one works. We're Stream Technology on YouTube, and I tap it again, it goes off. I tap this one, Stream Technology on Facebook, and actually just created a website. I guess I have to make a new button called Stream Technology, StreamTEK.us. StreamTEK.us is the website, and basically it's just general information about what I do here at StreamTEK, because I've had manufacturers reaching out to me and inquiring about placement and covering their gear, and had to basically tell them I'm not going to buy it. And I will name names. Logitech. They're like, hey, you know, you haven't covered the new Mevo Core. And I'm like, yes, I haven't, because I haven't received a demo model, a review unit, like many others have. And it's been out for what, 6 months now? And they said, well, you can get one off of B&H. I'm like, no, I don't buy every piece of gear I review. That's not how the press works. If I did that, I'd be broke. So yeah, I don't buy gear. I can't buy every piece of gear I cover. That would be impossible. You can send it to me, I'll do a video on it, and then I send it back, and then you send it to the next reviewer. That's how it's worked for decades. But that is how that works. If you are new to the channel or new to the stream, I am on Instagram right now. That's actually working on the StreamTEK channel this time. I've got that working again. StreamTEK channel on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. I am on YouTube. I am on Twitch, and I'm on that other small Facebook thing. And so you are able to comment from all of those things, and even comment from Instagram. And if I drag this up a little bit, oop, no, if I try it again, drag it up and expand it, I can see it nice and big, so that if a comment comes in on Instagram, I can see it and bring it in as part of the show. So anyway, this is an interactive show, and I appreciate all of you for being there, especially Saul. Joliet TV is in Chicago. PVE is in South Beach, California, with a 0 in the middle there. USA. Baltimore, Maryland has Cesar Camacho joining us. And why don't YOLOBOX record to movie format? MOV is just a wrapper. It's not a format. It goes back to the beginning of QuickTime. QuickTime at one point held 33 different codecs inside of it, so that Apple tried to simplify things to saying, oh, you're going to record it as a MOV, but you don't know what the codec is. Apple handled all that in the background. .mov could be a bunch of different things, but by saying it's an MP4, now you know the actual codec it is. It's an H.264 video codec with likely AAC encoding of the audio part. MOV is basically like an envelope. It's not a format, it's an envelope, and it still holds multiple different codecs. You can record an MOV as MPEG-2. You can do it as MPEG HEIC or H.265. You could do it as H.264. They're all MOV. But MOV is just the envelope. It's not what's held inside. So the YOLOBOX does not directly record to an Apple proprietary envelope. Most things don't. So it records to a standard universal worldwide, not universal, H.264 MP4 file codec. That's why. Continuing down the line. DJ Books is in Trenton, New Jersey. Good to see you. Used to live right down the street in Philly. Kirk Riley is in Dallas, Texas. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being there. Got a couple questions coming in. That's before we get to the content. Can you recommend a wireless zoom controller for a Canon video camera with several 100-foot range? Canon video camera. There's lots of Canon video cameras. I'm going to assume you mean a Canon video camera with a built-in zoom lens, as opposed to like the C300, which does not come with a lens at all. So if you attach a Canon lens to it, or a Fujinon lens to it, or an Ikegami lens to it, or a still lens to it, those are all variables dependent upon the lens. So I'm going to throw all that out and say, if you're looking for a Canon video camera that has an integrated lens with a several 100-foot range, and you want to be able to basically zoom straight in and straight out. The challenge with that, I'm going to get to the answer in a minute, but the challenge to that is, what you like as a wide shot, let's just say it's baseball, if you zoom all the way out, you might want to tilt down a little bit so that let's just say baseball, the playing field includes more of the field. And then when you zoom in, let's just say you want to zoom into the batter, you're going to want to tilt up, and so the batter fills the frame. Whereas if you zoom straight out, now half the frame is sky, and it's just this weird look that you're not looking down at the field, you're looking at half the sky. So zooming straight in and straight out from several 100 feet away is probably not the best thing. Be that as it may. How can you do that? Well, I'm going to guess that the Canon video camera, again, has an integrated zoom lens, so it's of those type. I actually kind of have one here. Let's just assume that this JVC is your Canon camera, and it has an integrated optical zoom lens. And this one, I believe, is 20x. And you want to zoom from several 100 feet away. Well, it has infrared on it. It has an infrared sensor right here in the front. And it has a remote. I have a remote over there. And you could zoom, but that infrared remote is not going to reach from several 100 feet away. Now, there are systems where you can put that infrared onto a wire and send that wire over to the camera. They use those for home automation. So it's an infrared repeater system. They also have them so that you could actually put it onto an RF and then repeat it. I used to have one of those from Radio Shack. That's going back. Then this also has a link control, which is a wired zoom control. It's not going to have all the zoom speeds that this does. This has like 4 zoom speeds. You're not going to get those through link. You're only going to get zoom in, zoom out. You're only going to get that from remote. Probably the same with the RF. And you can extend the link control, although I really doubt it's going to reach several 100 feet, because the camera is powering the controller to do the zoom. And usually those cables are only a couple feet, because the more wire you have, the voltage decreases over distance, and it's not likely, if you manage to extend it several 100 feet, like you just went to the home store and bought a spool of wire and extended that thing all the way across the field to where you want it, and you push the buttons, it would likely not work. So I would go with the convert infrared to an electrical signal that you can then send through a system to your camera. That answers that question. That was a good question. That was a brain tickler. Thank you for that. I've got Zoom Room's device and was wondering if I could send out a gallery view using NDI to bring that into a Blackmagic 8x switcher. As far as I know, Zoom doesn't leverage NDI for the whole room display, the gallery view, as you say. As far as I know, Zoom has really integrated because everybody was asking for individual outputs. What you can do is you can set up a laptop. You know, we used to have Zoom farms, 20 laptops all set up so that somebody would, select individual participants on each device. And then you get the NDI screen capture to capture that screen and send it along its way. So you could definitely use that for the gallery view. That would definitely work. Hey, George here. Good to see you. Have not looked at the Roland Aerocaster yet. It is awesome and very practical. I have reached out to Roland numerous times, and I actually did find a sales rep local to me who we were trying to coordinate, and then it just went all silent. I have not been able to get Roland to follow up with me with regards to the Aerocaster. It does look really good. Same thing with the new Rode mixer. That looks really cool too, especially their emphasis on scenes. It's interesting that what we're going to talk about with today's show is scenes primarily. And it's interesting that Rode has really understood the need and the importance of scenes to pre-build all this stuff. And instead of just, yes, you've got your camera 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then you've got 8 scenes lined up. That's fantastic. And it's so interesting to see Logitech, who we mentioned before, they've got their software, but it doesn't do scenes. And then OBSBot has a software package, and I also believe it still doesn't do scenes. So if you want to have multiple things, you kind of have to like build that on the fly, and that doesn't work so much. So a lot of what I like to do when creating a show is to have pre-built scenes. Like what you're looking at right now is actually a scene. It is me over top of a background. It's a scene. It's not just, me, and then I have to key out the background and then replace it with the background. It's pre-built so that I can just cut to it like a camera. It's actually right here. It's number 1. And then if I cut to 2 is just the background, or just the second input. So I can cut to that. I can cut to this. So that makes it very easy to produce a show when you've got these scenes pre-built. And I'm going to call them scenes. You call them multi-views, super sources, all kind of the same thing. I'm just going to use the word scene just because it's easy. So that's what I'm saying. But yes, I would love to look at the Aerocaster. It does look really cool. It's a combination hardware and software, which I kind of dig, and leveraging the iPad capability, but also leveraging hardware and phones. There's a lot of other software out there that does that. Actually, I'm just going to, with a nice segue right there, there is other software, including AirMix. AirMix is another piece of software. There is no hardware, technically, made by TeraDeck. So most people in the video industry have heard of TeraDeck, and they came out with this AirMix software years ago. And they tried moving it forward, but it didn't fit within the scope of all the different hardware that they're working on. I mean, it kind of did, but they didn't, I feel, as an end user, I feel they didn't leverage the connectivity that they had, because you could use any of their video or their clip encoders and go right into AirMix from any camera, which is really cool. But they didn't really leverage the AirMix as sort of like a hub for everything that they have. So they orphaned AirMix, but in so doing, they took off all the price restrictions, took off all the, pay-per-views, or what you would call options. They took off all the option hurdles, made it all free, included everything, and re-released it to the Apple Store or the iOS store. It's an iOS app. It runs on iPad, and it can use Android or iOS phones, kind of like the Aerocaster. But there is no hardware component to this. So you're totally dependent upon getting your audio into AirMix or using your phones as sources. And it's free, and I created a group on Facebook to discuss it because there is no support from TeraDeck. It's orphaned, it's end of life, it's done. If something doesn't work, tough. If you can figure out how to make it work, you can discuss it in the group. So that's there. You can sign up and join there. But that was a nice segue. Next up, can a guy get an NDI PTZ camera and control it via network? Yes. That is the other option, but I'm assuming he already has a good camcorder with a really good optical zoom already in use that costs a couple $1,000 and does not want to necessarily say, let me go buy another $3,000 PTZ camera. And then you still have to run the networking. So if you can just do the networking part and get an infrared signal there, then you could kind of get what you want. But the PTZ would give you the option of having multiple presets. So you could have that close shot properly framed, and then you can have the wide shot properly framed, or somebody's on first, you can have a wide shot that includes first. Somebody's on third, you can have a wide shot that includes third. You know, you can have those presets. That's what being able to move the camera is going to deliver, that just zooming in and out from a long distance away is not going to give you. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Aerocaster is like Switcher Studio, but it actually includes a hardware component. So that's the interesting part, because I believe there is an audio mixer. Now again, it's been a couple years. Roland, Aerocaster. And yes, so let's go to the laptop, go over here, and we'll get rid of that Bing advertisement. Actually, I got a mouse over here now. So you can see there is this Aerocaster hardware that has the audio mixer right here and the ability to switch the inputs. So you do need this. It is a software that runs on iPad, but it also has a hardware component, which makes it easy to plug in XLR audio and do audio mixing on the fly. Whereas if you had Switcher Studio has no audio mixer. It's just very weird. They have resolutely refused to add an audio mixer, which the Teradek AirMix does have a really good audio mixer with EQ, gate, and all this stuff. So you're going to need, Roland has a very good audio background. Roland's been making professional audio gear for decades. So they're putting their audio expertise into this Aerocaster with this interface here that gives you, let's see if I can click on it and get a bigger picture. Like I said, I would love to get one of these, but you can see it's got an audio mixer. You got some effects. I don't know what it's doing now. It's redrawing. Oh, okay. It's giving the close-ups. Compressor limiters. It's got input gain, loop back, direct to monitor, echo canceling, auto levels. There you go. Auto leveler. That's cool. And then you come down here, de-essers, low cut. So you see there's a lot of audio capability being built in. Now, technically, these buttons are probably just telling the software on the iPad what to do. It's not, I don't think it would be happening in here, but I can't say that for sure because I haven't been able to get my hands on one. And then you can see down there, they've got your picture-in-picture 1, picture-in-picture 2. It's just the corners, which I consider about as useless as can possibly be. Nobody just throws a picture-in-picture in a corner. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Obscure movie reference number 1. Split side by side 1, side by side 2. Anybody knows what movie that's from, you can throw it in the comments. Lip sync delay, so that's really cool. Because you're coming in through an analog interface, you may need to push back the audio to match the video. Because again, if you're coming in with multiple non-synchronized video sources, the software or the hardware is going to have to rip those apart, lock them together so you can do dissolves and things like that. And that's going to add a frame or two of delay. So having a lip sync delay in the Roland makes sense there. Continuing down the list. AirMix is awesome, but it struggles to maintain 1080 from the phone. It artifacts a lot, so you have to be lower to the phone's 900, lower the phones to 900 something. Such a pain. I have not had a problem with that. It may come down to what you're using as your wireless network or wired network. If you're having trouble doing 1080 from the phone, try connecting the phone via Ethernet connection, a wire, which you can do, and try using a different Wi-Fi router. I have one. Where did I do it? Oh, it's over there. I have always recommended these Google pucks. I have probably a dozen of them now because I purchased, somebody else was like clearing out their house, so I added more. I haven't really used them, but when I was big into Switcher Studio, I used the Google puck. This is the 2016 version. That's how old they are. But they have a USB-C. Let's see if I go to the overhead. They have a USB-C connection in here, which makes it easy to power them from a power bank. They have reintroduced these, but they have a round connector. So you have to, I don't know, I don't even know if they have a DC cable. These come with AC adapter, but I have used these with 2.4 amp from a battery bank, and they have worked for hours and hours and hours. And these are mesh, so that I am able to go into a space, set one up near me, set one up over there, set one up further and everything. And then I'm covering the whole area with a very solid base of coverage with my network. But these don't do NDI very well, I will say. They do the cell phone solutions are usually under 10 megabits per camera. NDI, if you have the Mevo Start camera, can do 5 or 15. Already you're at 15. If you're doing a bird dog camera, you're going to be at 30 or 100 megabits. These things are not great for that. No. You're going to need a better Wi-Fi, and let me walk out of frame again to show you a beast that I purchased to help me do NDI over Wi-Fi, and this is a ROG AX6000. So it's a 6 megabit dual band, actually it's a tri-band gaming router, because it does 2.4 and it does 2 different 5 gigahertz. It does not do 6 gigahertz. That's the newer model. But as you can tell, this is a beast of a router. It has the throughput in here. It has a 2.5 gigabit backplane. It is designed to move a massive amount of data. So if I have a 2.5 gigabit network in this device, and that's 2,500 megabits, and I ask it to send a 1 megabit NDI stream, that should be child's play. But I haven't fully implemented it and tested it yet. So. But you got to step up your game if you're going to be pushing high bandwidth stuff. One more question comes in. Can a cell phone that is just a few inches away from a shielded SDI cable disrupt the SDI signal? Cell phone is on, but not making a call. Yes. If a cell phone is on, unless you put it in airplane mode, where the transmitters are off, there is half-watt wireless transmitters in the phone on 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 900 megahertz, 1200 megahertz, and a bunch of other bands for cellular. Cellular has, I don't know, like 15 different bands. So, and those are all, it used to be a real big issue that you could not have your phone near the audio mixer, because you would always hear, you'd hear the pulsing go into the wires of the audio mixer, and you would hear it audibly in the mix. And then, eventually the audio mixer people got wind of that, and they shielded the core components that were picking that up. And now you can find mixers that actually have a little rubber pad for you to put your phone on the mixer, which was like, are you kidding? But yes, I don't know how it would affect an SDI cable, but if it's close enough, I think a cell phone could. I mean, it is a transmitter. It is sending out, and depending on which way the antennas are facing, and you don't really know where the antennas are, but it is definitely possible that it can interfere with other electronic components around it. So possible. I'm not going to say I've tested it and I know for sure that it will, but it could possibly. So it's a very interesting question. But thank you for that. Again, like I says, this is an interactive show. You are here. I am here. We are here together. As always, if you haven't already chimed in, the audience has grown. I love to know where people are watching from, because this is a worldwide show. We typically have people from Europe, Africa, had South America, Hawaii, Australia, all over the place. And I think that's really cool. And that's the magic of streaming today, is that we have this ability to put something on the internet and have it be viewed by anyone. It's like there's multiple dozens and dozens and dozens of services willing to help us do that. And that way we are the broadcaster. We are direct to consumer of the content. And as always, we're not limited to the topic at hand. You can throw in any streaming questions, and we've had some really good streaming questions today. So thank you for that. A little bit about me. Where did I do it? I gotta go back up here to take that one off. A little bit about me. Let me move. I got so many mice here. If you are watching on one of the other services, most of the content is going to be on the StreamTEK channel on YouTube. So you can look at Stream Technology, or you can go to streamtek.us. That's a new website that'll point you right here as well. So, and this is where we will have all of the live streams, NAB coverage, producer conversations. You can find just videos that tell you about products, videos that teach you about NDI and SDI and HDMI and audio and things like that. So there's a lot of content here to help you get up to speed in terms of building a studio, learning the technology, and also product reviews of different technologies that are out there, like the YOLOBOX Pro coming out with updates, and the OBSBot Talent. And then then we have this. I have the StreamTEK channel on, not channel, page. So there's additional posts here, but this is just, you know, a reference to the YouTube. And then I also write for Streaming Media Producer, which is at streamingmedia.com. We do reviews and articles and have a regular column there. And then if anyone needs consulting or help design building something, or studio or things like that, I offer consulting service and also production services at stream4.us. And you can see I've done award shows, trade shows and events, remote production. I actually have a remote show after this show. So we have to end at 1. Panel discussions, corporate meeting videos, and things like that. And this right over here, the one on the right, the Cat Master show, is the one that I did with 9 cameras, 4 Google Pucks, and the show ran for 4 straight hours. And, you know, it worked. So that's what I have going on there. Let me, oh, not this mouse. I've got 2 mice on the right here. Now it's confusing again. Today's topic, designing a show. Let me do it this way. We're going to look at what it takes to design a show. And when I say design a show, I'm talking about thinking it through ahead of time. Because a lot of time, you know, somebody says, oh, I want to stream something. And, you know, once we get the budget and everything worked out, then it's like, okay, I need art. I need artwork. I need backgrounds. I need, you know, what type of lower thirds do you want? What logos are we going to need? Who are the people involved? We got to put, you know, create lower third titles and things like that. Some people are happy just to get something on the air. I did something locally a couple weeks ago. They just wanted it on their Facebook page so that then they could share it out and promote it. But they didn't have any artwork. They didn't have any lower thirds. That, you know, there was going to be like 10 different people going up, and they said, listen, don't even worry about doing the graphics and everything. So I still made a pre-show graphic. I still went live early like I do with this show so that people can tune in, make sure it's working, make sure they got sound and everything. Let me know if there's no sound, as my viewers are wont to do. And it creates a look and feel. It creates a polished, you know, show. So we're talking about designing a show, and I'll use my show as an example of designing a show. So what I've got in front of me is, Let's go to side by side, overhead. I've got 2 devices here. And again, this is just an example, not limited to these 2 devices. You could be using vMix, you could be using Wirecast, you could be using Mimo Live, you could be using whatever you want to use. You know, Aerocaster, you could be using Aerocaster. And, you know, I have a show on InStream, and I talked about that last week, designing for vertical and building that vertical show and how the vertical audience is really looking for something different. Today, we're going to be talking about horizontal shows. And I have this one right here, so I can go like that. And this is the YOLOBOX Pro. It's been out for about 3 or 4 years now. It's a very nice device, and it's convenient. So you can see that I've got certain things in here already. I have a title already. There you go, YOLO Live. I used to do a show for YOLO. I don't have any relationship with them right now, and nobody's paying me to use their products on this show. Disclosure. But then you have, like, you can create social media links. You can create, I created a little, what's this one? Go away. Should have gone away after 10 seconds. Not that one. I have this one. So this is one I created right here. That's got a little email icon that's not built in there. So I, you know, found a little email icon and I put it into the system ahead of time so that when I want to say, hey, and you can email at, there's a little email icon so that it goes with the flow, designing these things ahead of time. And, you know, like here on the left here, right here, I've got nothing pre-built. So, you know, this green screen that you see right here, this is what the studio actually looks like. But this blue with the StreamTEK at the bottom and that over there, that was built. I'm producing this show on a Magewell Director Mini. And so the Director Mini is what's creating this blue background, these cool little curved corners that I'm kind of digging. And I decided not to put myself in a box. So I'm just sort of like free floating back here. And then I put the logo down at the bottom. So this construct, this scene is pre-built, and I can cut to it. I can cut away from it. I can cut back to it. And then if I wanted to show you more on another device, I created a 4x3, which is perfect if I'm showing you an iPad. So it's got a different look. Now I'm over top of it, and I can point to things like that. And that is what building a scene means to me. And if you have questions about building a scene, like how do you want yours to flow? One of the things that I find a lot of people find when doing a conference, and you don't really know where the podium is going to be because that's an in-room kind of thing, and you can't build your thing at home or in the office, and then you don't know whether it's going to be screen person standing or screen person standing, because then you're going to end up with somebody talking about, like when I go to use the laptop, let me just go to the laptop here. When I go to use the laptop, my laptop is over here. So I'm technically looking the wrong way. And what I need to do is I need to have a different version of this where I am on the other side, move the picture-in-picture over. And this way, when I'm talking about my laptop, I'm looking at the laptop. Now, in the Director Mini, I can actually take this input, edit it, select me, and flip me, so that this way, when I look to, did I flip that right? No. Oh, I didn't save it. There we go. So now when I'm looking at the laptop, it looks better because I'm looking, when I look at the my actual physical laptop, I'm looking at the content that you see on the screen. That makes more sense. So I have, in certain shows, designed it and doubled it. You know, big box, little box, big box, little box. So because I don't know which way they're going to be, and I need to be prepared for both. And then when the show actually comes, I use the box that matches the physical environment that I'm seeing, so that when the person keeps referring up to the thing and he's talking, as you can see, he's at least looking on the screen. Like now, if you did this, I'm looking the wrong way. Why does he keep looking away from the content if he's talking about it? You know, then you'd go into here edit this one, flip horizontal, save. Now, as you can see, I'm talking about the third quarter earnings and so he's looking at the content in real life and on the screen in front of you. And that really does work a whole lot better for the viewer. That's an important thing. I do often see people are like the little button, here, let's go back to the Ultra. So we can say, okay, here's a presentation, right? Person presenting, and I want to have, let's just say this input 3, the woman talking, I want to have her as an overlay. So we go in here, we come down and we say picture in picture, and this next, this next, and then there you go. That's the box in the corner. In no world does that look good, and video mixers that still just do boxes and corners it's useless. If you use it, I apologize. To me, I would just be like, no. But you can do the subscreen shape as a circle. That kind of works a little better. It's a little nicer, I think. And then you can put a border, let's go back. You can put a border, change the border color because she's got white. So let's just do brown. There you go, a little brown border. And then I can kind of scoot that in from the corner a little bit. So she could be talking about this artist, And then you could also change the scale. You don't want it too big. It could be over here in this corner. It could be up here, And this, this construct really depends upon whether the person, whether she will be the forefront. Is she talking about something that's behind her, like she's more important than what's being presented, or is what's important, or what is his presentation more important, and she's just offering additional commentary or additional information? And that's because in North America, we read left to right. So if it's on the left, we see it first. Top left is what we're going to see first, is more important than what's in the bottom right. So by changing the order there, you are visually and kind of subconsciously, for people who read left to right, top to bottom, changing the order of importance. That will be different if you're in a country or using a language that reads right to left or in a different direction. So that is, part of the construct when you're designing something. Done. So I can design that, and now I have that as a scene, so I could just cut right to that. So I can go from him to that, and that works kind of well. But what's just, a lot of times side by side, I think, is one of the nicest views right now. Things fall in and out of favor. I think that is side by side. And we're going to choose this one and this one. So we got that. And then they worked it out so that you can adjust this slider. You can try to adjust this slider. Or it can just ignore me. There it goes. And then now I lost my output. Why can't you see that? Interesting. Let's unplug it and plug it back in. See if we get the output again. No, my switcher didn't die. The output of this mixer stopped working. Yep. All right, so I am going to reboot. Done. I'm going to reboot this. Restart. And we will come over here to the talent. So as you can see on the talent, I have nothing. If you tap the screen, it should show I've got these different inputs. I've got the person talking, I've got a background, person's talking in a green screen, and those are just raw inputs. But the talent, as every device works differently, the same with vMix and most things, each item you select, each input can be a whole scene. You can bring each thing individually in, like if you just want raw cameras, But in this case, I don't want just the background. I don't want just the HDMI one. I don't want him against a green background. But him over HDMI one, that makes a lot more sense. So I can come into HDMI one and just edit that one. I don't have to create a new input, which is what you need to do like in a YOLOBOX. Certain things, when you create a new scene, it has to be somewhere else, built from sources. Other products like vMix and the Talent work such that you're building a scene, and it can be as simple as just an input, or you can come just multiple layers right there, and there's no just standalone source at all. So here's my background, and then I can say, oh, and on top of that, I want HDMI 2, and I'm going to size it out like that. And you can see it gives me crosshairs, like I know I'm lined up. And then with this one, I'm going to want to do a chroma key, and I'm going to sample the key color. I'm going to give me my eyedropper, select this color, save. Whoops, he's gone. We're going to adjust this similarity. There he is. Save. And now that source, which says HDMI 1, is actually a scene. It's not just HDMI 1. When I click on that, I get him over the background. Done. And I can put other content there as well. So if I had, let's just say that textured background paper, I can go back into this, edit it. I can scoot him over to the side. I can then add another layer. And then I'm going to add a picture. I'm going to go into my SD card, my media, some stills, StreamTEK Facebook. I'm going to take that. We're going to size that down. We're going to put that over here. And now he's doing the news. He's behind it. I can choose the different layers, scoot him over a little more. So I'm building this scene. Come over this one. I can put a frame on it. I can make it a little thicker. I can round the corners a little bit, save. And now I've got this scene. And that is selectable by itself. If I want another one with just him, then I can duplicate this, rearrange the contents, and switch between him presenting and then pop him presenting with the content and then pop him just presenting by himself. And that way it makes it easy for you as a producer to just, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to go to this. You don't have to try and build it on the fly. Building your show ahead of time, building those scenes ahead of time makes your job as a producer much, much, much easier. Got a question come in. Is it preferable for CG color luminance to be restrained to 16 to 235 on the available 0 to 255 to reduce dynamic range and have less video disharmony? Computer graphics color luminance to be restrained? I don't think so. In standard definition days, there was a 7.5 luminance, 7.5 IRE for blacks, because you didn't want to dip to black or below it because you'd mess with the sync. In the digital world, it doesn't matter at all. 16 to 235 puts it in the middle, but then I've been given graphics that are 16 to 235 and they don't look full color. Like the blacks aren't black and the whites are kind of not white. Like this is white. And then if I put a 16 to 235 logo next to it, I'm going to have to go in and adjust the contrast of the 16 to 235 logo so that white looks white. So I think it's better to just keep everything, 0 to 100, Another comment. YOLOBOX really needs to do something for sizing and placing graphics and scoreboards. It's maddening try to line things up by guessing. Yes. So as you saw when I was building on the Talent, they have provided Magewell in the core software. Again, the Talent is manufactured by Magewell, and then OBSBot is putting connections to their software on top of that. So, and there's no secret to it. When you buy the box, it says powered by Magewell. On the back of the unit, it says powered by Magewell. So it's not a secret. There's not like, it looks just like the Magewell. Yes, it is. Just like the Chevy Silverado looks a lot like a GMC. Same company. When you're editing these things, and even this could be improved. You know, when I'm moving this, you can see right there, I get a center line that appears to help me make it centered. But in terms of just nudging it around, I'm still just dragging it with my finger. You know, it's sort of like if I needed to just scoot it up a couple pixels or so, I can't do that. There's no methodology to do that. Whereas if you're in a computer app program like vMix or something like that, you know, or a TriCaster, you can select the thing you're talking about and then numerically adjust it over to the right or adjust it over to the left. And vMix has a really cool feature that I wish everybody else would adopt, in that if you've got the scroll bar, all you have to do is hover your mouse over top of that line and then roll the scroll bar. One way goes this way, one way goes that way, and you can go click, 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 no, back one, there you go. And that way you're able to like do fine position, and it has a number, like you can then copy that number from this graphic that you're creating and go into the other 7 graphics and just 257, 257, 257, 257. Now they're all perfectly lined up. Yay. As you can see in this graphic, there is no numerical value I can use to take this graphic and then go to other ones that I already have built and say, oh, match this. That's not really a thing. What they do offer though is save. So I can take this graphic and I can copy it. So you have to create one and then you can paste, 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 and you can duplicate that to make sure all of these match nice and perfectly with 3 other cameras and make sure those presenters are off on the same side. Presenting things is just easily switch between them. That's great. But if you then have to change one, oh, you know, like the person that hired you comes over and says, can you make that smaller? I don't want it over top of them. And you go to the first one and you come in here and you edit it and you say, okay, yeah, I can make that a little smaller. You mean like that? He says, yes, that's perfect. I don't want it over his shoulder. Okay, great. Now I've got to go and do it again to the other 4 inputs and try and match this. As you can see, there is no setting area. Now there's a format thing on the very right here. I've selected it. It says format and copy, but I don't know if that necessarily means it's going to paste that element into something else. We can give it a try. Save. It's the magic of a live show. It's not AI generated. We're winging it as we go. So we're going to open this one. We're going to edit this, and we're going to format and paste. Okay, so it did take the element I have selected. It did the correct size, but it didn't do the correct placement. So it's pasting certain attributes, but not all the attributes. And if you're talking about a YOLOBOX, that copy paste isn't there at all. In vMix and other tools, you can copy sections of data, like copy the positioning or copy the shortcuts, but you're copying all or nothing. You're not just copying parts of it, you know. So there's really a whole lot of improvement that I think all of these tools can do in terms of building shows. Now, I will admit that building shows is probably the least amount of time out of the whole show process in terms of like working on arranging a show, agreeing to a contract, getting the artwork, building the show, running, you know, setting up for the show, running the show. The building part is a very minor part, but it makes the running of the show work so much better when you've got the show pre-built. It looks good and everything. But yes, making changes to things is definitely a hurdle, and having some guides in this tool is nice. You know, here's centered that way, and if they're centered vertically, centered horizontally, you know, somewhere there. There. Okay. Did it snap? I don't know. Not really. When you size it out, you can see it'll actually give me, there you go, edges on the top and bottom. There's dotted lines on the top and bottom saying that my video has reached the edge of the frame, you know. So that's handy, but at the same time, there's not like presets that basically say click, click, full size. So you got to manually do everything. And like, you know, he was saying YOLOBOX really needs to do something for sizing and placing graphics. Yes, but at the same time, trying to wake this up now. Hello, wake up. That's not waking up at all. I killed it. I really did. I killed it. Maybe the battery died, which would be weird because it was still running. I'm just going to hold my finger down on it for a couple seconds. But YOLOBOX has several different pre-built scenes that I think are more usable than the Talent. The Talent doesn't have any pre-built scenes, and the Magewell Director Mini added some pre-built scenes with the latest update, but they're just like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I mean, okay, they're there, but they're not necessarily, you know, I'm going to want to customize all those anyway. And truth be told, customizing those multi-views is a way to differentiate your show from other things that might be on the air, because this doesn't look like anybody else's show, and that's deliberate. You know, the blue background, the StreamTEK at the bottom, the curved corners doesn't look like anybody else's, and that's by design. I didn't want it to look like other things. You know, if I did box, somebody might say, well, I think that could be a YOLOBOX. You know, this without the border, definitely not a YOLOBOX. So that way I'm able to differentiate what people are seeing and create different looks. And if I were to create another show for another client, I might do things completely differently. You know, maybe we, you know, do drop shadows and things like that. And you can do drop shadows. Want to see a drop shadow? Let's do a drop shadow. All right, let's do a drop shadow. This could be kind of cool. Cancel this. So I've got this StreamTEK logo. So I've got the StreamTEK, I've got him, I've got the background. I think I can get one more layer in there. And that actually does take me over to something else that I wanted to show, and that is, let's go that way. I've got it's a Lexar SD card. It's blue. And on this is a folder called My Media. And it's media that I have put together over time. I just keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And it's literally in every device that I use. I just carry it with me. And on here is, make sure I'm using the right device. I go into My Media so that this way, when I'm on these devices and I want to come over here, I've got a folder of backgrounds. So I want to get a background. Let's just come up here and view it as icons. Large icon, not extra large, large. I don't know why they're going away. It's kind of weird, but I have a folder of backgrounds that enables me to come in here and, oh, I need a background, just some sort of generic thing to put behind this person. Why are they going away? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's not. Maybe I don't have enough memory in this tiny little laptop. And then, so let's view by details. So I've got various backgrounds. I've got a textured paper, and I've got textured paper vertical, and I've got a textured paper horizontal, because if I'm doing a vertical show, or I want to show, let's just say an iPhone, I need a vertical background, not a horizontal background. So I went to some of my backgrounds, I rotated them, and then saved them as a vertical version of that background. And scroll down here. Industrial, modeled office, office backgrounds, sunsets, underwater, things like that. So I've got various just standalone backgrounds. I've got different countdowns, 15-minute countdown timer, pre-show. And sometimes if I don't have the time to build a countdown, I can just, hey, I got one, let me just throw it on. We've got a countdown to the show. It's something. And literally that's all it is just counting down for 15 minutes. I don't even have to use all of it. It's a video. I can just fast forward to 5 minutes, and then I've got that part. Go into the media. I've got logos. boom, boom, boom. Oh, these are logos of different sports teams that I've grabbed, that if I'm talking about sports, I need a logo to, throw into the sports thing. I've got the logos. I wonder if it'll let me show these. No, it won't. Hey, you can support me on Patreon. I can get a laptop with more RAM. My media moving things. So these are different moving backgrounds. I've got GIFs. Yes, I say GIF. And then I've got video blocks, backgrounds, abstract blue water. And I've used these like, when I've got that side by side, I can, in vMix, I've put this moving background, slowed it down to 25%. So it's something that's just slightly moving. It's giving a little bit of texture to it, but it's not just a flat black, flat colored background, but it's something there. Just like I've got this background, it's something there that provides a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest. Continuing down the list, I've got music. Facebook and YouTube provide cleared music. So you can go there and say, hey, if I'm going to do this, and I'm going to broadcast on Facebook and I'm going to broadcast on YouTube, and they're providing these audio clips, these songs that are pre-cleared, and they're not going to flag you, then use those pieces of music. So the music you hear at the beginning of this show and at the end of this show is coming from that folder, and it's pre-cleared, which is why YouTube never flags it when I do the show. It's because it's like, oh, okay, I recognize that, I check it, yep, that one's good to go, you're good. And then when I created the StreamTEK show, I created here as a banner, so that thing down the bottom is one of the banners. I've got a background, so the background is just this blue background. It all ties together. This is the art that I usually ask for from clients, that says, listen, we want to unify this whole thing. We want to tie it to your look and feel, your corporate colors, your corporate font, all of that stuff. We need to get that art into the system so that this stream can match the rest, everything else. And then there are certain things that they don't want to match. I'll be working on the GM Financial Parade of Lights. That parade has its own look. It has its own font. It has its own color scheme. It has its own artwork that is just for that parade. It has nothing to do with the GM Financial, book of, art. What do they call it? It's a book that tells you what the font's supposed to look like, what are the allowable colors, what are the allowable sizes, backgrounds, everything. The parade is something different. Now, if they have a GM logo in there, it's going to match what the book says. But for the parade, the artwork for the parade is vastly different. So for that program, that stream, it has its own design. So I've got some stills. Those are stills that I've grabbed at the different websites. And then I've got different videos. So one of them I know is definitely going to be soccer, because, I've done talks about doing sports scoreboards, and it's really helpful to have some people playing sports behind it. So I've got some soccer footage, and that way I'm able to put soccer footage behind when I'm talking about sports scoreboards, so it ties more directly into what I'm talking about. And that's just an example of what I have. And obviously, clearly, this collection of media that I have for designing my show is purpose-built for talking about production hardware. So I've got a whole variety of things, even when you look at the content that I've got here, I know I'm going to be talking about producing a show. So I've got the background, I've got the person talking, I've got the green screen. Those are pieces that one might want to use for a live stream production. And I have them as recorded media so that I can leverage them in talking about production hardware. That is why this stuff comes, together like this, is because I've put together that media ahead of time in trying to design what the look of the show is going to be. Because, you have to sit there and design that show ahead of time. What material am I going to need? Because you can't be in the show and say, I'm going to need somebody standing in front of a green screen to show how the green screen works. You got to have that ahead of time so that you can do this, design your shows. And yes, I went and looked up the Roland Aerocaster, but that, can't prepare for everything. It's a live show. And if I get asked a live question, then I'm going to try to answer that live. So that is sort of like a brief view of what I feel can really benefit producers in making a show for live streaming. It doesn't matter how small the show is or how big the show is. I mean, if it's big, there's going to be a lot of people and you're pretty much going to have all this stuff come at you anyway. Even if it's a small show, even if it's a little gathering, even if it's a little podcast thing, even if it's a freebie for the church or things like that, having designing a show so that it looks nice and feels put together like there was effort behind it, I think really does benefit the viewer. The viewer kind of expects a certain level of production quality. There's so much content out there on the internet now that you need to make sure that you are, you really do put together your content ahead of time, think it through, do the design and everything, down to even the audio. How is your audio going to come in? What's it going to sound like? Do I need an audio mixer? Can I put a little EQ on there? Do I need to put a compressor or a gate? Do I need to sweeten the sound a little bit? The Rodecaster came out and it made everybody sound like they were recording in a beautiful studio, because the Rodecaster kind of does a lot of that for you. The Rodecaster, adds that fat bottom, that punchy sound, that crisp highs and everything. And it's just like tap, tap, tap. Yeah, everybody sounds great. But if you don't have one of those, you're gonna be competing against people who are using those, and you're going to need to make sure that you have good audio to start with, a good microphone, quiet space. Make sure you've got enough wireless to go around, because the thing that you see a lot is somebody's got a handheld mic and they're holding it like this, and then they start pointing with it, and now you can't hear the audio and everything. And if you don't have control of the audio and you can't make sure that you get good audio from the people who are talking up there at the stage, or if you've got a podium mic and they decide to stand over here and everything, and now you can't hear the audio, it's going to affect your show. And you need to think through those things and make sure that you're designing the show. Sound design is part of it. When you watch sports and they go to a replay, they've got that little whoosh thing that's all part of the look and feel, the design of the show, that they're trying to draw you in, make it interesting, give you that little eye candy, ear candy, and make it work for you. With that, I've sort of wrapped up my time, and like I said, I got another show in not too much longer, so I apologize. I am just going to wrap this one up today. I do thank you all for being here. Once again, if you are so inclined and haven't already subscribed, I heartily request that you head on over to the StreamTEK channel on YouTube and give me a like and subscribe. And hey, if you want to take one of the cool videos you found there and share it on your social media, that would help me out a lot, because that helps people who don't know about the StreamTEK channel see something that they think, hey, that's pretty cool. I'm going to follow that where it goes, and they're going to find more stuff, and that'll help me out a lot. And then, as always, you can find the StreamTEK page, my writings at Streaming Media Producer, and if you need to reach me, you can reach me right here. There's a little contact link right there where you can send me an email online. And with that, I will say I will look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.